Very good. There are 40 active cases of coronavirus in Victoria. That's one new case since yesterday. That is a person in hotel quarantine, so that is another 0 day as far as community transmission or locally acquired cases goes. That's the fifth in a row. There were 18,660 test results received today. That takes the total to 4,158,568 tests since the beginning of the pandemic. Can I just again thank each of those more than 18,600 people who were tested yesterday and got their results back today. That's a very, very strong number for any day on the weekend, and particularly Sunday with such good weather. So we thank everyone who's gone and got tested. That really is the most important thing you can do for your family and for every family, and for us to be on top of any cases that might be out there in the Victorian community. We often make the point about getting tested, and whilst the vast majority of those results are negative, you've got to have testing numbers that are high enough that you've got confidence that you've got a broad enough picture, a big enough sample if you like, to know that we don't have the virus in our Victorian community. Now, I've got a couple of announcements to make in relation to a new common sense traffic light system, which would see every part of the country coded either red, orange or green for the purposes of travel into our state. It also serves as advice for any Victorian travel into other parts of the country. This is based on public health advice, and it gives to our public health team and indeed every single Victorian clarity and certainty about what the status of every other part of our nation is. I'm very pleased to be able to say that regional New South Wales from 5:59 p.m. tonight will become orange, so we'll move out of the red zone, and therefore people from Victoria who want to travel home from those areas, and you've got the list in front of you, will be able to do so. Greater Sydney remains red, and we will update that daily and continue to make further judgments, our public health team, and they'll provide advice at the appropriate time when that can become orange and indeed green at some point in the future. In terms of Brisbane, whilst the restrictions that have been imposed in Greater Brisbane come off at 6 p.m. tonight, the public health team is still not 100% confident that we can have people from Brisbane returning to Victoria. So we will again monitor that each day. There's still many close contacts that have not been tested. It's a relatively new outbreak. We're very pleased, of course, for our friends in Queensland with such positive results over the course of the weekend. Many tests and no additional cases, but the public health team are not yet, in Victoria that is, are not yet comfortable to have people from the Greater Brisbane area coming back to Melbourne or travelling to Melbourne regardless of where they might live. Again, that'll be updated daily. So later in the week we hope to be able to have more to say about Sydney and Brisbane. I want to thank particularly all of those people who are very patiently waiting until the public health advice allows us to have those people return home. We know this is a deeply inconvenient, very challenging time for you, but there really is no alternative but to follow the best of public health advice and make sure that we do nothing, any of us, do absolutely nothing to jeopardise the very precious thing that we've built here. Such low case numbers, having defeated the second wave, we all know how quickly this virus moves, and particularly this UK strain. So it's very important that we follow that public health advice. That's what we've always done, and it's what we intend to continue to do. So from 6 p.m. tonight, anyone wanting to come to Victoria will need to apply for a permit. The Services Victoria website will be the place to go. You can get a permit, and it will be based on the colour code, that is to say the virus status of where you've been, the virus status of where you're coming from. Very simple, very easy, and what that will mean is that we can provide clarity to people who are wanting to travel here, and we can also make sure that we're as consistent as possible when it comes to those areas where you would be issued a permit, a green zone or an orange zone, and of course those that you would not be getting a permit from being a red zone. There are substantial fines, a new penalty just under $5,000 if you turn up here without a permit, or if you turn up here and you should not be here if you've not bothered to apply for one, or if you were rejected and then turned up, then you face that $5,000 fine. That is significant because we don't want a situation where people are not playing their part. Everybody has to play a part in this. Now, to speak in more detail about public health advice, particularly in relation to Sydney and also Brisbane.